This is
The handbag husband.
the Handbag Husband. Yay! Fancy museum.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. So today, I think one of the things we want to talk about is something we have not ever covered before. So interesting. The most interesting is, and I think a lot of people are wondering, what are the duties of a handbag husband? What is it that I take upon myself? The responsibilities, the duties that I have to kind of help the Hermescapades along. And I think, again, my personal opinion is I think it definitely helps. Maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about what are kind of the things that I do to help the Hermescapades along, to help ensure that everything goes smoothly, and how do I contribute to be a handbag husband. And I think actually how that kind of builds our relationship better. And I think it really does. I think it is a relationship building exercise in totality, assuming you don't kill me in my sleep. But before we get to that, if you like these videos, if you like the Hermes conversation, if you like the Hermes milieu, and if you like the bag candy, I will guarantee you there's going to be some amazing bag candy. You all watch. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel grow. And of course, we are so thankful for that.
Thank you, grazie mille.
Grazie mille. But also because it means you get notified when our newest long videos come out, when our newest short videos come out, and really everything that we have on the socials on YouTube as well as Instagram, because we have new Hermes content coming out every single week. All right, so let's get down to the duties of the handbag husband. All right, so let's talk about what are some of my duties. And I'll give you from my perspective and obviously from your perspective. But I think overall, the main duties of the handbag husband is to, one, provide a different Hermes
The
perspective.
muscle. No, to
Yes,
me,
okay, there's a
to
muscle,
me,
right? Yes,
to me,
yes.
the first number one
Yes,
is
yes,
the
yes.
muscle.
Someone needs to carry the boats. Yeah, and that happens to be me. So whether it's escalators or stairs in Paris that don't have an elevator and don't have an escalator, but you got to get down to the metro, this guy. Especially a lot of the Airbnbs here in Italy, they don't have elevators. Someone's gonna get up 6 stairs. Cobblestones,
Yeah.
Florence roads, Roman bridges.
Yeah.
Venetian bridges. Oh, dude, it's a nightmare. So obviously, your duty is to bring the things that we need to have a successful Hermescapade.
Yes, yes.
It is my duty to make sure it gets to wherever it's going.
Sure.
Even if that means I have to drag it and carry it or be grouchy about it. So,
Sure.
am I a bit of a pack mule? Maybe. I think, but I also enjoy it, right? There's nothing that makes me feel more proud of getting to our destination and being like, yeah, I carry all the carry-ons I
That's
carry.
why you do the curls.
So the other one is also, obviously, less physicality of it is going to be to have an extra perspective, an extra Hermes perspective, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section here. But just have an Hermes perspective that is similar to yours, but maybe like 5% off, right? 5 degrees off, I think
Sure.
really helps for you to make some of the decisions in the moment when things come up, like in Hong Kong, where the first time we got an exotic bag, or even the first time in Tokyo, right? We first got our first quota bag, which we'll be talking about later on this trip. I think having me here to give that perspective helps you make that decision. Whereas before, you might have been so indecisive, you're like, I just can't. I don't know, right?
Sure.
So there's that. There's also the moral support. I think that's a big one as well, because you and I know, and probably everyone
I
else
mean,
knows.
but like everybody also knows that you're not gonna say no to my decision.
Well, I have not yet ever said no. I have not yet ever said no, but I'm not saying that it's impossible.
But I think it's more on the reverse.
Hmm.
When I need to say no, I will turn to you.
Yes, so I get to play the bad cop.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
especially when we're in the boutique visits. Yeah, you're like, oh, I love this bag. What do you think? And I'm like,
She doesn't
you're
like
like,
it. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't like this bag. It's too
Yeah.
not our bag.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's that side of it as well. But also, I think obviously security, right? Making sure there's another set of eyes around,
definitely.
especially when we have bags, when we have things that we're carrying around.
Yeah.
Having another set of eyes while you are trying to figure out where we need to go to, or do we have the keys, or do we have the reservations, do we have all the things we need, right? I get to be kind of just another set of eyes, right? Just to make sure that, hey, this people, and there's been multiple times where, especially here in Europe, not so much in Asia, but in Europe for sure, there are some shady characters who come up and like, oh, can I borrow a cigarette, or can I put this bracelet on you, or those things, and it's easier to have someone like me who's like, just like, hey, get out of here, right? Like we're not doing any of this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So, I think that is a big help side as well.
I think the important one is like you basically keep the SAs busy.
Yes, and I think that'll be for the next section. Kind of how
The
I
Hermescapades,
how do I
yeah.
actually make the Hermescapades better?
Sure.
Because I will say I do make the Hermescapades better. I think you all will think so as well, right? But
The duties, I mean, moral support, muscle support.
clean up the Airbnb when we're about to leave, at least somewhat.
But that's not an MS. That's not the handbag husband duties.
Well, I'm the handbag husband, and it's one of my duties. So overall, I think, naturally, that's part of human nature is that the duties are split in a couple. That's just the way things work out. And I think that it usually probably runs along those lines of what the strengths of the individuals are and the weaknesses are on the individuals as well.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I really enjoy the whole process. And I mean, obviously, we get to do cool things and have fun adventures together. And Hermescapades, yay!
Otherwise, I'll be sleeping in the hotel room,
Yeah.
and then not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost a creative purpose of like each trip,
Yeah.
Not just like come and eat and just
I mean, don't get me wrong.
we get we get
Yeah.
for food. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think realistically, on the Hermes side, Italy just happened to be the place that worked out well for us.
Oh,
Right.
you see, I don't know.
It wasn't master
I don't
planned. We
know.
weren't like, oh, Italy's going to be. It's just like we kind of spread the seeds out, and it just happened to work out
Sure,
that this
sure.
is where it worked out, and so
We'll see,
here
we'll
we
see,
are.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
But of course, we haven't been to our visit yet, so we'll see. But that's kind of just one of the thought on the duty side. Now, the next thing up I want to talk about though is how do I really influence the Hermescapades, right? How does the Hermes stuff specifically get improved, I would say, and made more efficient and made better, and overall the outlook of getting the things I think also is improved by having one handbag husband. So we'll talk about that one next. Is it a good sign? An omen from the Hermescapading? Maybe. All right, so let's talk about some of I think the most valuable, and we'll talk about the advantages and sort of disadvantages of the handbag husband, the services that I provide inside the boutique. What is-
Hermesescort.com.
Yeah,
Hashtag.
Hermescort. Because I think that is the whole value of the handbag husband. Yes, the other stuff is good. We talked about before in the Uffizi Museum, but realistically, when it comes down to brass tacks, my biggest value is what happens on the inside of the Hermes boutique.
This is your own.
Well,
Your
of course,
own thoughts, or-
Well, your thoughts will be here as well.
Okay.
So first of all, and I think one that is probably pretty common for duos like ours, is the inclination or the ability or just the natural drive to take the initiative, right? When the moment pops up, and we've had it in multiple cases where there's almost like a stutter step in the process.
That would be
in the
me, yeah.
beginning, yeah, where you're just like,
I'm the unsure baby. Like, the
Yeah.
baby that always froze, that's me. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The baby just like stand there,
Yeah.
like blank stare.
oh yeah, yeah.
The kid, like the
So when this
toddlers.
comes up is when we usually is when we first enter into a boutique.
This is most of the time in this case of the boutique I never been to before.
Yes,
I don't know
yes,
the layout of the
yes,
boutique. Where am I
yes.
going? What do I need to
Yes,
do?
yes.
Obviously if it's like my home boutique, Topanga,
Yeah.
if it says like,
well,
like
yeah, they know you,
like-
they greet you. they're
or
like, hey.
like the boutique that I've been to before, like
Yes.
that's no issue. Like I
Yes.
know where to go.
Yeah. So example is Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
Hong Kong. We were in line. We got in there, and we show up to the and there's people running. There's people running to get to the leather department.
And I was like, what's going on? I was
So I was like, okay, we got to
surprised.
go too, right? So
Yeah.
we run up there, we run up to the boutique, and they play a zone defense. So there's people like sitting there, but they're not going to approach you. And so that was a moment where you were just like, and you were just going to wait while all the other people were stuck in the
They
essay.
already like start
Yeah.
talking to the people. Yeah.
And so my reaction was, let's make a judgment call. Which essay looks like they will be the best fit for us and has the most juice, and let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And the same happened in Venice as well on our last Hermescapade in Europe, where we roll upstairs with the first one in. They were still in their meeting essentially. They were all in their little huddle, and I kind of like scooched my way into the huddle. I was like, hey guys, it's work time. Who wants to help me, right?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Look at that
And
face.
everyone's like,
their faces. It's just
Yeah.
like, why are you
Yeah.
here? Like,
Yeah.
why are you even here?
Yeah, it looked like someone like dropped like a rotten turkey in between all of them, and all of them were like, not mine, not it, 1, 2, 3. But I obviously again kind of used my feelies and said I think this person might be the best fit for us. I was like, can you help me? And he's like,
I guess.
all right, all right. I mean, he seemed like he was pretty senior, so I think he had lots of other things to do. Not that they're more important, but just lots of things to do. But luckily that worked out well. Got the Kelly Messenger. So, and then also in Bond
Maximo.
Street, you were saying in Bond Street. I don't remember that one well, but
Yeah, that one basically not much of the handbag, not much
Initiative?
of the. But I guess ask like, hey, what do you need to do?
Yeah.
Where do we go and
just those interactions, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
general, those
Yeah, yeah.
interactions where you pop up and the essay is like, or not even the essay, like the podium people are like,
what do you want? Like, what do you want? Like, yeah.
how can I help you? How can I help you? What do you know? Those are moments where you'd be like, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I step in. So that is one of the big ones. I think that is one of the biggest ones that has actually been most beneficial.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not bad.
All right, next up is a game that we like to play, and sometimes we reverse roles. I don't know which one
Who
I
went
am
first?
anymore. Third base is good cop, bad cop, right? And we've talked about it multiple times. Is that if you are one-on-one in an essay and you don't have a relationship with them, and you're early on, all the cards are stacked against you. Everything is stacked against you.
It's
Even
their home
2-on-1.
turf- it's their home
Their home
turf.
turf. They know the system. They know the rules.
They have the many no's,
They have
many versions of no's.
Yes, they have all the
ready to
versions of
clock.
no's in their
Yeah.
arsenal, right?
Yeah.
They can pull out whichever they want. Be like, here's your no card.
Yeah.
Come back and get a different one later.
Yeah.
FSH.
Have a garden party.
Yeah, garden party. But we can play good cop, bad cop, which means that we can kind of be on both sides of it. We can literally argue both sides of the point on any bag.
Sure.
Which puts, I think, us in a better advantage when we are talking about and negotiating through bags, right? You can say, sometimes you give me the tap. You're like, hey,
Oh yeah.
I like this bag, but you don't like this bag. And I'm like, oh.
The
And
color was
so you get to be the good
not
cop. You're like,
yeah.
oh, I love this bag. It's
Yeah.
such a nice color. And they're like,
And then
no,
what
I
do
don't
you
like
think?
it.
Like
it's too,
If
not enough feathers.
let's grab some pigeons over here.
Yeah, so we get to play both sides of it. And
Yeah.
I think in some ways it also helps us to sort of build a rapport, right? The essay is continually having to think on their feet.
I mean, obviously, it's still in the realm of no's that they can.
Sure,
that they
sure.
might poke
Yeah.
some holes, the
Yes,
weaknesses of the
yes,
essay, so
yes.
like, or just keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
the conversation
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
There have been multiple instances where the sales process, if you will, basically comes to a stall, and it's a moment
Who
where
blinked first?
Yeah, who blinks first, and
Yeah.
potentially we could have just left, but then we get back into something else. It sometimes resulted in a good result.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good result. So having that the diversity of topics is
So
good.
basically, you are the juggler clown.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I mean,
the clown that juggles.
Am I not literally the juggling clown at this point?
Like to like have the essay pay attention on you,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I'm the one, or sometimes you steer the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're continually running a mental marathon while you and I get to take breaks because we're taking turns.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Although they do end up like running away for 30 minutes. And I don't know what maybe they're taking a break, taking a nap, and they're coming back. That's another one.
Take
Good
your
cop, bad
coffee,
cop. Yeah.
coffee breaks.
Yeah. I think another one that's really good it is sort of obvious, it's sort of an obvious thing, but it totally makes sense, is having a diversity of spend.
The categories that you can spend on.
Because I think for you specifically, and for, I mean, me obviously as well, not just by design because Hermes doesn't have a lot, there's a pretty limited selection of things that you could spend money on that you would actually want.
Yes.
Right? Because there are things that are quite expensive, like, although I do have my eye on that leather globe, but it's crazy expensive. And for what? Right? You have to,
I have leather glove.
Leather globe.
Oh,
The
globe.
globe.
The ball.
Yeah, the
world.
ball with little.
Was it like 30,000?
Yeah, it's like 30,000. So there are absurd things I like, but also it means that there are things that I also like that you can spend on. And so when there are situations where maybe there's not an option for you to spend, and I think this FSH one today, Paris, is a good example. Maybe there's things that you're either unlikely to get an opportunity to spend or you wouldn't want to spend on. So then they can show me things that I don't want to spend money on, but I still want to see them, right? Or maybe potentially I could find things. So having that means that, specifically for the boutiques that we have relationships with, means that we can double up the spend. And moreover,
Not so much of doubling
not double
up
the spend,
this
but
one.
you have a spend when there
There
isn't
are more options.
an option to
Okay,
spend.
this trip, what do I want? You know, or you know what, this trip, I don't want that much. Like, what do you want? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so we kind of like,
Me? You're
Yes.
asking me?
yeah.
We'll see. I gotta go back to FSH a couple more times.
What do we want? Everything.
And the last advantage, I think, for couples like ours, where, I don't know, everyone has their own way they divide the diversity of how people divide up their resources is diverse as the couples themselves. And for us, because everything is kind of all put together all the time, everywhere together.
Like your student loan.
Global studies will mean something one day. But
I guess you're doing
hey, there we go.
Hermèscapades International.
Actually, right? Yeah.
Dude, no.
Okay. Anyways, I think that the advantage is that we both come into agreement on the spend on the spot, right? It's almost like getting instant credit approval. You don't ever have to buy something that you're like, oh, I love this object, I want to get it, and then have to try to figure out how to explain it when there's a constant size hole in our credit card bill, right? Or a Birkin size hole, or a Kelly exotic size hole, which is a big hole in our credit. We both agreed, and we both said, hey, you know what? Whatever the consequences be damned, whatever those are going to be, we're doing it together, right? And I mean, of course, we approach life that way in general, but specifically for Hermescapades, that's one of the advantages that you have sign-on pretty early on. And as you had said in the Uffizi, sure, I don't really have. I've never said no per se, but I could.
You say no sometimes. But
usually you tell me to say no, but I've never actually said no. But it does exist. It's out there. It's a possibility. I just don't know how you would find it or access it.
No, I think it's not like you don't say no. Don't say no to me. It's more like if I have to ask you, it's actually a decent yes. Does it make sense?
Also, you don't take any wild shots. You're not
that's
asking
my
for,
point.
You're not
That's
asking
my
for
exact
bags
point.
that I completely
That's my exact point. It's like
right?
if the questions that I have, if it's something that I have to ask you, I already kind of like mental calculated like this does it make sense? I just need a confirmation from you, and that's why most of the time it's a yes.
Bags I would say no to. No offense to the people who like these bags. Gypsery, for sure. I think I'd probably say no to that one. Maybe some sort of strange colored in the loop, or what else?
Steve.
Yes, if you came and say, "Oh, I want a Steve for you," I'd be like, "Get out of here! It's crazy."
I mean, yeah.
So there are ones, but usually you choose bags that you know, or maybe our preferences are so aligned at this point that whatever you're choosing is what I would choose anyways.
Correct.
But the no exists. It's out there. Let me see if I can find it.
What did you get? What do you get? What did you get? Zum zum, little zum zum.
All right, so that is it for the duties of the handbag husband. And realistically, I'd love to know if you have a handbag husband or handbag spouse, or however you work it out. Whoever you're Hermescapading with.
Are
how do
they
you
as sassy as my husband?
exactly guy. You know, how do you divide it up? Or do you think this is a useful strategy that maybe you all could use, or even some parts of it just incorporate into it to help you maybe have more successful Hermescapades? But you know, put that down below. I'd love to see your perspective as well as your comments on it. Now, of course, if you like these videos, if you like the Hermes conversation, if you like the Hermes milieu, and if you like the bag candy, and you know we're always going to have some great bag candy, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel grow, and of course we are so thankful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. But also because it means you will get notified when our newest long videos come out, when our newest short videos come out, and really all the things we have on the socials, on Instagram and on YouTube, because we have new Hermes content coming out every single week. So from a very hungry
Let's go eat
courtyard
some
here in
crepes.
Paris, let's go eat some crepes, and au revoir.